All right, let's talk about something we all use every single day, but maybe don't think about too much: computer memory. Have you ever really stopped to wonder what your computer is doing when it remembers something? That's what we're going to break down in this explainer: how it keeps track of absolutely everything, from your vacation photos to your favorite game. I mean, think about it. You click save on a document or install an app, and poof, it just exists, right? But where does it actually live inside that machine? And how in the world does your computer find it again instantly? It honestly feels like a bit of magic, but there's a really elegant system behind it all, and we're about to pull back the curtain. Okay, so the easiest way to get our heads around this is with a super simple analogy, and we're going to stick with it. Just think of your computer as having two main parts: a desk and a filing cabinet. Seriously, that's it. This one core idea is the key to understanding how two very different types of memory have to work together perfectly to make your computer run smoothly. First up, let's talk about the desk. In our analogy, this is the computer's active workspace. The technical term for it is volatile memory, but really, just picture it as the surface where all the action is happening right now. Now, this digital desk has a name you've almost certainly heard before: RAM, which stands for Random Access Memory. And it works just like your physical desk. It's where you put all the stuff you're actively working on: a document, a web browser, a video game. The computer pulls them out of long-term storage so you can access them in a flash. RAM is incredibly fast, but, and this is a big but, it's also temporary or volatile. The moment you turn off the power, the entire desk gets wiped completely clean. Poof, gone. But here's where it gets even more interesting. It turns out, not all RAM is created equal. Your computer actually has two different kinds of disk space. Most of what you have is DRAM, and that's your main workspace. But there's also a much faster and way more expensive type called SRAM. Now, because it's so pricey, your computer only uses a tiny little bit of it for something called the CPU cache. You can think of that like a small, exclusive VIP corner of your desk where you put only the most critical tools that your computer's brain, the CPU, needs to grab in a split second. So, if the desk is just for active, temporary work, where does everything else live? Well, that brings us to the other half of our analogy: the filing cabinet. This is the computer's permanent, non-volatile storage. Right, so unlike that temporary desk, this filing cabinet is built for the long haul. It's the permanent library for your operating system, for all of your applications, and for every single one of your files. The key term here is non-volatile, which is just a fancy way of saying the data stays put. It's safe and sound even when the power is off. For decades, the standard filing cabinet was the hard disk drive, or HDD. The comparison to a tiny record player is pretty spot on. It literally uses spinning magnetic platters and a little arm that moves back and forth to read and write data. For a long time, its main strength was just giving you a massive amount of storage for a very low cost. They were the workhorses. But today's filing cabinets are a whole different game. They're built with flash memory, the exact same technology that's in your phone, your USB sticks, and modern solid-state drives, or SSDs. Instead of spinning disks, flash memory uses millions of tiny electronic cells to store information. To store a 1, it traps a tiny electrical charge. To store 0, it lets that charge go. And that's it. Because there are 0 moving parts, these drives are totally silent, much more durable, and just ridiculously fast. And this constant need for bigger filing cabinets wasn't just happening inside our computers. Take removable storage. For years, DVDs were the go-to, holding around 8.5 gigabytes. But then came Blu-ray, which jumped all the way up to about 50 gigabytes. That massive leap in capacity is the entire reason we could suddenly get high-definition movies and complex video games on a single disc. It really shows you just how fast our storage needs have been exploding. Okay, so we've got our fast disk, that's the RAM, and we have our huge filing cabinet, that's our permanent storage. They're supposed to work together as a team. But what happens when we try to pile way too much stuff onto our desk at the same time? Let's actually walk through it. Imagine our computer's desk, its available RAM, has a total of 3 gigabytes of workspace. That is the absolute limit of what we can actively work on at any one time. Okay, first thing you do is open your web browser. The system pulls that program from the filing cabinet and puts it right on the desk. That takes up 1 gigabyte.
Plenty of room left. So far, so good.
Next up, you decide to start a video call. So, another program gets pulled from the filing cabinet onto the desk, taking up another gigabyte. We've now used up 2/3 of our workspace. The desk is definitely getting a little crowded. And finally, you open a really big spreadsheet. It snags that last available gigabyte. And that's it. Our desk is completely full. Every single inch of our active workspace is now totally occupied. So what happens when you try to do just one more thing? You click to open your music app. The system tries to pull it from the filing cabinet to put it on the desk, but there is absolutely, positively no room left. This is that moment we all know and hate. The dreaded spinning wheel of death appears. Your programs become totally unresponsive. Your whole computer slows to a crawl and might just give up and crash with that out-of-memory error. The workspace is so overwhelmed, the system literally doesn't have the room it needs to think. So what's the big takeaway from all this? It all comes down to the relationship between the desk and the filing cabinet. If you remember one thing, remember this. RAM is for doing and storage is for keeping. A fast, stable, happy computer needs a healthy balance of both. You need a desk that's big enough for all your active work and a filing cabinet that's big enough for everything you own. And this leaves us with one last really fascinating question to think about. Our digital lives are exploding with data. We're creating more of it than ever before. So to keep up, what will the super fast desks and the unimaginably huge filing cabinets of the future even look like? The answer to that is going to define the technology that all of us use every single day.